Afternoon, folks. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. It's another beautiful afternoon in Phoenix. It's probably about a $1.13, $1.15, somewhere around there, and 5:30. So the heat's going to start to abate, and we'll go down into about 100. It's okay. I get a pool. I was just flipping through the news, and nothing's really got my attention of late. Then I stumbled across this. So, we know the pandemic thing is playing out now, it's starting to die off. There's too much counter information for Fauci and Burks and the rest of them to even be playing their bullshit little reindeer games anymore. And like everything else, they're just going to loop back in the playbook. But this article popped up. I was scrolling around on RCP. I don't do the MSN for my information because it's garbage. And what I'll do is I'll go to the outliers and read through those, and then I'll try and corroborate where I can, divine and distill down from, multiple sources what I think the median grain of truth in the middle is, that they all will wrap in bullshit, try and tell you it's ice cream. Anyway, this fella here, his name is John McLaughlin. John McLaughlin is the former deputy director of the CIA. That was under W. He writes a regular column on OZY, called Global Eye Foreign Affairs Through an Intelligence Lens, and teaches at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. Just like the kid that gets taught in grade school by the globalist or the socialist or the Marxist, same thing, only graduate studies level. That's not the thing. He writes, while attending the annual International Security Conference in Munich earlier this year, I heard Trump administration officials, no names mind you, but he was there. So which ones? Fucks the story up. Trump administration officials tell a skeptical audience that the United States was still leading the world. A European official turned to me and said they should substitute V for D because it feels more often like this administration is leaving the world. Let it sink in. So, this was in Munich earlier this year, which would have been pre-COVID, right? Because not allowed to do anything after COVID. Everything else was falling apart. We had to drop the pandemic on you. I think the important thing here is this. Before all this hit, yet Brexit, the EU was not happy that the UK left. Italy was rattling sabers that they were going next. Germany's never going to leave, but if you lost the EU and Italy, you would pick up some of the other Western European countries with them. The Eastern European countries have zero interest in being in the EU. Rephrase that. The Eastern European countries with an actual economy that got rid of socialism, think the Czechs, think the Poles, think the Hungarians, those guys, the Ukrainians until the whole Russian thing, but that's different. They have no interest in being part of the EU, and the EU knows that it's dying a slow death now. The people who would actually contribute or could actually contribute are no longer there to contribute. And if Trump continues leaving by leading these people away, by showing them you don't have to be part of this great society 2.0. You can get off the fiat currency. You can control your own destiny. You don't have to listen to officials from Brussels who have no idea what your life is like. It's the same thing that happens here when people in California say people in Texas shouldn't own guns. In California, the fuck do you care what people in Texas do? Instead, they pressure the legislators. The big gist that came out of this had to do with China and Russia. Now, we can't have a good relationship with Russia because the same people that run the EU, the NWO, the globalist cabal, whatever you want to call them, use Russia and the Trump-Russia collusion narrative, keep recycling it, because they believe people are so stupid, they don't understand that when the report came back and said there's no evidence of Russian collusion, that there was no evidence of Russian collusion. Don't get me wrong. There are deeply dyed-in-the-wool people whose cognitive dissonance is so thick you couldn't cut it with an axe, let alone a knife. The new push now, since we said we can't be friends with Russia, and Trump has to put these sanctions against Russia, and it strains the Russian relationship. I don't think Trump and Putin have a bad relationship. And I think Putin, for all his faults, people hate him and he's a dictator, I don't know him well enough to make that call. I know he's not putting 1 million people into internment camps and harvesting their fucking organs, though. People seem to like him. When I see the people, now remember, you can always judge people by their actions, not their words. Their words mean nothing, but what they do tells you everything. All the people who are routinely calling for Russia to be sanctioned, for us to have no relations with Russia, for us to be at war with Russia, and Russia's our enemy, but China's our friend. Why is it always Pelosi, Schumer, Feinstein, the Democrats? So what are they, the progressive cons, or anyway, the neocon faction that hates Trump, the anti-Trumpers, the rhinos. If all those guys are telling me how bad Russia is and that Russia and China are going to become best friends, regardless of the fact that Russia and China have hated each other forever. Russia even hated China when it was the Soviet Union because the Chinese did communism the wrong way. 50 years ago, the Russians and the Chinese got into a fucking hot dispute over a river. That was the border, because the Chinese are very imperialistic. They are looking to build the empire. Russia will be subservient to no one, by the way. That is not their way. God damn it, flag, go away. So when I hear Russian collusion, Russia and China, Xi Jinping and Putin, I say it's all bullshit, folks. I say it's just more stuff from the anti-Trump. They're running out of ammunition. They have shit left. One thing I did see that was actually a little frightening. Expect a war between Russia and China. So this came from the Bessa Center, which is the Begin Sadat Center in Israel. Jews have good intelligence. The executive summary basically says, notwithstanding the seeming friendship between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the growing congruence of both countries' interests in undermining the U.S.-led international order, we're not leaving. We're taking them with us. We want them to follow our example. Relations between Russia and China remain at their core as bitter and prone to mutual suspicion and distrust as they have in the past. It is not unreasonable to expect that underlying animosity will erupt into violence in the relatively near future. That's a little frightening. The only other thing to consider here, folks, is as we pull out of China, where all the politicians, Justin Amash, great example, fucking idiot that he is. Oh, Mr. Libertarian, why you got all your money tied up in China, fuckhead? As India picks up where China left off, India being, for all intents and purposes, a democracy with roughly the same amount of people, China's really, really sweating it. They can't afford to take any more hits. They cannot. So you're going to see more of this propaganda bullshit pushed, because what happens on November 4th is going to dictate where alliances shake out and where they fall. And if there's a shot in hell that Trump gains enough power to take back the House and the Senate, even with the rhinos, the neocons, and the warhawks, don't be surprised if he opens up a hand to Russia, help straighten that out, because the American-Russian relationship would just be the death knell to China. Say. That would counter all their South China Sea bullshit. Those are two big names. We'll catch you folks on the next one. Just remember, though, he's leading them away. Right before the COVID hit and knocked everything up. And they're scared it's going to pick back up again. Especially since there's a lot of chatter that he's about to crash the economy. Just saying. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you on the next one. You folks have a nice one. Adios.